Wait, don't hit it while it's saying welcome to episode 31. All right, just trim it out. All right.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Map 5 podcast. Definitely the first time I've recorded this info, and of course we are here at our normal time and our normal place. Big Hungry Phil, joined of course as always by Bullskunk, Chef Billy and Ocean Casts here for an Overwatch World Cup Week 2 roundup. How's it going, everybody?
Yeah, good. Let's go weekend. Busy weekend.
At least this means we can actually go via the scheduled run of show and not in a random order.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. Everything's fine. There was definitely not a recording of this already.
This is absolutely the first recording where we nailed it the first try. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, good.
I understand. It's okay. It's okay. I'm used to being in these little sort of social circles where I ganged up on. It's okay. I understand.
Well, that was sad. That was bringing us right the way down. Yeah.
I could have took that in an even darker way, and I decided not to.
We're good. I'm glad you didn't.
I mean, you are the one living in reality. We're just desperately living in denial over here. But with that, some news. I think there's news.
Yeah, in fact, from one sad statement to another sad statement. Unfortunately, it looks like Belong Arenas are shutting down operations in the stateside, and whilst I never really got a chance to work with the US branch, have been a big fan of the Belong brand from where they got their start in the UK, and this naturally has a pretty big knock-on effect on, a whole variety of grassroots things, the Will English Invitational being the one that's sort of most immediately relevant to Overwatch.
Yeah, some people we know directly lost their jobs as well.
True, very true.
Working for Belong. But user intel comes to mind. But yeah, this was a buyout that happened back in March that kind of started the snowball on this whole thing. The arenas themselves were not included in that buyout, so the arenas kind of got left out to dry as far as funding goes. And have kind of been floating for 3 or 4 months until they finally just shut them down. But good news is it sounds like the UK ones are protected, are okay.
Yeah, they're owned and operated by the Frasers Group, and they just had a partnership with Vindex, who are the parent company that just got bought out by the ESL Ac Group. I should have actually mentioned that in our first recording of this, but I didn't word it.
What first recording?
What are you talking about?
So Vindex is bought by the ESL Ac Group. The UK arenas are all owned and operated by the Frasers Group, and they're just kind of using the Belong name as far as the relationship goes, from my understanding. So maybe there'll be a rebrand, but I don't think so. I think everything seems to be fine and dandy.
I think we're kind of at that point where the bubble has started to contract a little bit, and this is just evidence of that. I mean, the arenas didn't open until after COVID, so it's we don't even really have that to blame here. Like, they tried to hit the market really soon after COVID. Their timing may have been a little ambitious, trying to jump in while there was still a bit of the bubble growing from everybody staying home and numbers exploding during the pandemic. But since then, I mean, I think this is just one of the victims of the belt tightening a little bit, unfortunately, in the entire esports sphere.
Let's talk about maybe a positive from this. While people have lost their jobs, and I don't want to underwrite that. This gives opportunities for local esports grassroots to, if they have the capital. And I'm not saying that a lot of people do, but I mean, this is an opportunity for maybe smaller groups to band together and reinvigorate these local arenas, because I only know of the one. I think there's one in Denver and the one in Schaumburg, Illinois, where Bill did a lot of his stuff.
I don't know if it's Dallas or Houston.
There's a Houston one, because I think they've done some events together.
Yeah, there's one in Texas, all right?
It's a pretty small place.
There's one in England.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, England is the size of Texas.
There's like 70 in England, man.
It'd be cool if colleges started kind of hosting and filling this void.
Yeah.
I mean, with the multi-million-dollar ISU campus, they've got to have enough systems and stuff to where they could actually host a LAN and do a community event there. That would be amazing. To where
I think you're also missing the point of people who can't afford to have like gaming PCs at home, just traveling to play on a PC for it. That's a great experience.
It really is.
Yeah, that's another thing that you're missing there.
Well, yeah, no, the PC bang is not really a thing in the United States. That's never really been a thing.
Yeah.
Fuck not.
It's just
Well,
not.
let's ring the bell on this news article and continue to blister through the rest of the roster.
So I'm up next, and that means talking about Danteh. Danteh having retired from the 29th of June, just a little over less than a week ago. Really came out of the blue, but according to him, it was a mutual agreement. It was a good parting. He just didn't feel like he was holding. He felt like he was holding his team back, and he wasn't enjoying playing anymore. And so, I mean, for that, I mean, massive respect. But I don't think it's the end for him. He's really touted out that he's looking at Collegiate and streaming as well. We were talking about this earlier. Maryville seems to be tops of his list, and that is going to be selfishly awesome for me because that's only 3 hours from me, so I could go meet an Overwatch legend. That would be fucking fantastic. I've been also dreaming of a Tree and Danteh lineup. That's just scary on its own. So, I mean, future is bright for him. He's not that old. I mean, esports wise, he's really not that old, and real life wise, this is a great. And Jeff was making some good points that I will let him elaborate on here right now.
Which points were that?
get dropped in it, Jeff.
The path post pro or path from
pro?
Pro?
Yeah, the whole part about him going to college. Yeah, I mean that's amazing. Before it almost seems like he was dropped. Like he talks.
It does sound like that.
But it also reads that they just don't have the budget for him and another tank as well. So it does kind of read both ways. But I think he was actually dropped from the teams. He talks about how much he loved this squad, and I think it's important to note here before I do move on to that original point. But that how much these were like his friends, and this was his favorite team he ever played with. And it really sucks that he won't be able to finish the year with it. So he actually has those sentiments in there as well.
I think for me, though, I actually looked at this and I was a little bit confused because Danteh surely could have still done some tank and some DPS, and then you maybe look at one of the DPS players.
So the thing to consider here is that LA Gladiators are owned by The Guard, who are in serious financial straits, and so expanding the roster was probably not.
Well, no, what I'm saying is instead of kicking Danteh, kick one of the DPS and he can flex 2 roles.
I guess if you couple that with what he said on stream and in his retirement notice, he was struggling with solo tank. Like it was maybe fine last year, but he just feels like he can't keep up with the competition at the minute, and he doesn't like the fact that the reason they're losing might be him. So I think whilst it's sad to see Danteh go in a lot of ways, it feels like it's as close to leaving on his terms as he could manage.
I mean, and the Glad's DPS line's strong, and Danteh hasn't been playing DPS for a couple of years now. Like, I don't think he can just slot back into the DPS.
I will say what was really funny was I caught some of his stream, maybe like first or second stream back from after the retirement notice, of him playing Tracer, like one clipping 3 people in a row and going, "I'm back."
Good old Danteh.
Yeah.
But to close out this point, the talk about him going to college is awesome. And I do think that there is this wonderful precedent for players having a future after the league and having a path from pro. So that, I mean, this is something we haven't seen a whole lot of. And, we've seen players go to streaming and doing stuff like that after their professional career, but not very many have gone back to college to get an education. And I think that is way more viable and is a way better option for probably the majority of players once they start feeling the need to retire and kind of let the reins go a little bit.
I will say we have seen it because that's effectively what Gig did after LA Valiant.
I'm not saying it's the first time ever, but there's only a handful. I mean, I think there's one other who went.
If there is
King.
Olsen King.
Falcon King. There you go. That's it. That's about those are the 2 I was thinking of. But anyway, with that, I suppose it's good place as any to move on. And we've got some Natter news for the first time in a few weeks. Which is nice. Which is nice coming off the back of a although I know they're disappointed, still a fantastic run in the Overwatch World Cup, even though they weren't able to clinch out against Thailand. I'll talk about that one a little bit later. But still good news for Natter coming in and is coaching NYXL Academy. So big news there. Natter's got a big brain on his shoulders. Happy to see it. Who was he replacing? Anybody know off the top of the head who he was replacing?
They've been a little bit canny about it, about not announcing who's doing what.
So, I mean, look, Natter's been on NYXL for a bit. He's replacing himself, if we want to put it that way.
Right.
Right.
He's been.
They've made it official.
There was a late announcement. So there are things that I've been privy to that I don't want to discuss, though.
Sure.
But Natter's a great coach, and we know he's a great coach. He's a great individual for the
It's
scene.
official now. Then.
He's going to do a good job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that was a nice quick news item. Congrats on that, Natter.
I'll be back in prod soon enough, and we can have our actual Natter news graphic.
Oh, yeah. I can only do the
know.
bare bones of production. It's a wonder that even this is happening.
You're doing fantastic.
Thank you,
It's better
very
than I could do. I tried to produce, and my entire system about just collapsed in on itself. About imploded.
Yeah.
I almost had a black hole created in my office. Like, that was.
Well, then that means we can move right along. And apparently, I am all about the retirement post today because Logix.
It's been a very
also,
complicated setup joke about Billy's age.
That's great. That's great. Logix, the Belgian DPS superstar, has gone bye-bye. And I mean, he talks about his journey and how he has competed not only for the Overwatch League and the Contenders, and now also for Belgium. We'll talk about his performance in the Overwatch World Cup, but he's 26 and he wants to do more in life, and he wants to figure out what he's going to do with his attachment to Overwatch. So cutting the cord there and seeing what he's got coming up next. I'm going to be following this one because I had a chance to talk to him once, and just the nicest guy. And I mean, looking at all the high level support that this guy is getting and just the love from them. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
definitely gonna miss him
legend.
from the scene. Legend.
I mean, another absolute legend that's been playing since day one. I mean, Danteh and Logix both were in Overwatch League day one.
Yeah.
I mean, Logix was involved in Overwatch before Overwatch League.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
Danteh, but Logix.
Exactly.
I think Logix to me is like almost like his notoriety is because he is such a talented player and no team seems to have known exactly what to do with him. Like if you look at how he was treated on Defiant, when he Symmetra specialist, and it's like, no, this is Logix.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be just your Symmetra specialist coming in for control.
Yeah, I mean, he won the sniper 1v1s a couple of times.
Yes, yeah, he did.
I feel like
At least once he won the sniper duel. the winner
XL2
duels.
Academy.
Yeah?
I think just like bringing my brain back. I feel like XL2 Academy probably used him the best.
Yeah,
I
quite
think
likely.
that I think one of my favorite quote tweets off of his retirement comes from Zippy, who I believe is a Belgian supporter in the realm. I'll never forget the time that he absolutely fucked Farah on his tracer in the Overwatch League, and I think that is. I mean, that's just. I think that's what everybody is going to have indelibly put into their mind about Logix is how he could take these 1v1s against where he should not have won.
Yeah.
And I mean, we remember seeing it in EMEC or EMEA Contenders when he made that magical run, and he absolutely fucked Yazin on Lighthouse and just completely decimated the entirety of the Twisted Minds roster there on Lighthouse and Ilios. One of my core memories.
Yeah, so
Thanks,
that's
Mr. Logix.
yeah. I was going to say one more. Thank Mr. Logix, and best of luck.
It's an honor. I actually got to say that in a broadcast.
Yeah,
I will say. I actually got to use that line in a broadcast and cast Mr. Logix. Like, it's a great honor. Like, seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was told for this news item that I gotta go fast, don't I?
Yes.
Anyone ready for a speed
For
run of this?
you.
Start the timer.
Right, no, Phil, are you ready to catch up to this? Right,
I've got the timer started.
Hang on, I'm getting the timer up. Give me a second. Okay, you're on. Go.
So we got some Korean Overwatch League rosters for the Overwatch League. Well, they're technically still contenders teams. Let's start off with Dreamers. Their key player is Top Dragon, of course. Big shock that Top Dragon didn't go to a bigger team. Everyone's a little bit surprised by that. But they also have some other key points. If we look at the Dreamers roster, you still have Dreamer and Liga, as well as Missing, another one of my ex-players who I think fantastically of. I feel like Top Dragon and Liga in some Diva matters will be a really interesting duo to watch. So that's really it for Dreamers. Let's move on. Next team is O2 Blast. HuRu is probably the big highlight of this team. Bit of a shock they picked up HuRu, to be honest, right? HuRu didn't play great on Minshark. I mean, they played all right. I believe they also got Protect. No. Protect?
Profit, Protect, Search, Karu, Who Are You?
Yeah, Search is a good player. I don't know who Karu is, but they must be cracked if they're on O2 Blast. Profit and Who Are You is going to be an interesting DPS show. Let's move on.
Oh,
Panthera next.
there we go.
Wow.
Oh,
Panthera, Alien, nuts. No, Alien's gone. Never mind. A Peach, nuts. Ex-player of mine, fantastic flex support player, can also flex the main support. Nice, Becky, and Develop is probably the best DPS trio in Contenders. Moving on, Jasmine's a great solo tank, very, very flexible player. Just, I mean, maybe a bit of a B-Tech and a cast, but we'll move on. Got two, and Sogan is support is kind of bench players. Probably not going to play too much. And Slay is also a really good player who can play main support and flex support. That's going to be an interesting support show. Moving on to the final one, it's just Poker Face, which is
I don't have a Poker Face one ready. I don't have Poker Face ready.
Well, I'm ahead of you. Well, Poker Face is pretty much the same apart from Arrow retiring and Victoria replacing them. The rest of the roster, Aiden and Simple, a really interesting support duo, very consistent support duo. Muse on the tank with Peppy. Peppy will come into play Sigma. Finale, Valentine, and Victoria. We've seen that DPS trio before between
Uprising
Academy, Boston Uprising, and Toronto Defiant. There you go.
And Arrow. Whoa.
Oh, ignore that. It didn't happen.
Whoa.
Arrow retiring. Out of all of that mess that you just spouted off, Arrow retiring to me is like, that's a heartbreaker. I love that player, and I don't feel like Arrow really got a fair shake. Arrow was such a sick sniper, and it just never really had the meta for it. I don't think for Arrow to shine outside of Circuit Royale. Like there was a time where I was doing top 3 videos. I went through. I made a lot of these top 3 videos that never saw the light of day. But one of them was like Arrow picking off another sniper across Circuit Royale, like through a flashbang. Like it was ridiculous. The target acquisition, it was, I mean, in a matter of frames, when all the screen is white and Arrow manages to find the head across, it was ridiculous. And that was after this falling, like this massive grapple shot that took care of the Zenyatta, and then like picks out the immortality field so they can get, like, it was, Arrow was one of those underappreciated DPS I think I've seen in the past 2 years.
Yeah. We got a time and how quickly I did this for us.
That was 2 minutes 4.88 seconds.
That's a record. That is
so usually it takes 25 minutes.
It does, and I'm so glad that I thought to time that. And to say, hey, Ocean, we can't take 2 hours doing this episode this time.
Well, if you gamers didn't have hard odds, we would still be on this topic, and probably would be.
Thank goodness that we're not. I think that Jeff is up next.
Yeah, I mean, and it's more sad news. It's like sad news week. I guess this happens at mid-season for all in Contenders for that matter. But yeah, Trick Room officially announced that they are disbanding. So that's unfortunate. It was kind of the spiritual successor of GeForce. For you early viewers of the podcast, you might remember we had Pummy on way back in the day. It was one of our earliest guests. Standout DPS player for that team, and just kind of it was just sad to see Trick Room go. It was another one of these. It's an identity team. It's a team that kind of heralds back to why people like Clockwork Vendetta, and as Phil being a giant fan of that squad. But it's a team that has a lot of identity, and it's why we're so sad to see what happened to Chengdu. I mean, I think it's a similar story, and coincidentally enough, I mean, anyhow, who notably got left out of the announcement, but was a ball one trick player, and there was some Chengdu's own influence into the G4 / Chick Room identity. Yeah. So it's always sad to see a team like that go, because it's usually you see a lot of musical chairs, and you don't. it's rare to have a team with as much just solid personality like this squad did.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. We don't seem to have any. I've certainly not seen anything about why it is they're disbanding. It could be that there are better opportunities for too many players for them to really warrant holding onto a roster any longer. I guess if we hear anything more,
Pummy's getting picked up to something bigger. I mean, his performance during World Cup was pretty outrageous.
Yeah, very very strong run on India.
I also you have to understand these gamers have been hard grinding for a couple like a year and a bit now. They probably need a small break. Like they could be taking a season break. You need to. There's other things.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
That's valid.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the next?
Let's.
This one's gonna be a slower discussion. Okay.
Is it? I'm gonna start the timer again. Just.
We're not doing a timer on this one, mate, because you'd be taking the piss. Right, shall we go on to? Can we go on to the first link first? Are you on the first link?
Oh, apologies. This one.
Is that the leaderboard one?
That was the leaderboard. Oh, you're not watching the. This is the leaderboard.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. It's a couple seconds behind. Sorry.
Okay.
Right. So got the standings here, and I want you to scroll down a little bit
Zoop.
to let's say like 12 at the top of the screen.
There we go.
Right. This was a fucking bloodbath. Calling Our Heroes Major 2 was a bloodbath, right? Let's start with the obvious casualties between 12th, 13th, 14th, 16th, and 17th, right?
Yep.
Let's start with 14th. Koniochi CGL.
Yeah.
14th. Aspen, Zemrit, Deku, Somnus, Barcode, Avery, and SK.
It's quite the roster.
14th.
Yeah, that is a sick roster to only get 14.
And accidentally cut Deco off at the end there, but yeah, very powerful roster.
14th is mental. That team is expected to be top 2, top 3, right? Great team, great players, great personalities. I mean, we'll talk about another team individually that beat them later on, but a bit of a disappointment, you'd imagine, for them.
Yeah, I can't imagine when you've seen how well some of the core of this roster have done in other Calling All Heroes and just other competitions generally. Something a bit wonky happened there. Not entirely sure what it is, but yeah, very unexpected.
Then another big casualty there is Genesis Rain, who were top 8 in the Major 1 and top 4 in Major 2, knocked out as well. So in Minor 1, they were top 4. No. Yeah, no, Minor 1, top 8 in both of them, my apologies.
Okay, there we go.
The top 8 in both of them. Bit of a shock there that they're gone already as well. Then there's another roster called Blank at 16th. Key, good player. Senna's known for being really, really good and getting top 4 previously. KJ, top 2, I believe, last time. Autumn Lee's a good player, so that's a big shock for them, right? So they're gone early. So this was a bloodbath, straight up bloodbath. In Calling All Heroes Major 2. So those are the teams that didn't make it. Shall we move on to the teams that did?
We absolutely shall. Except I appear to have slightly futzed my link here. Oh, great. I'm going right the way back. Calling All Heroes, entrant details. Maybe this button will do it. Well, what riveting podcast content. That's fine. I can remedy this.
Drum roll, please.
It does not seem to like navigating around the start.gg site particularly. So.
Well, the second one was.
Here we go.
Go to the Path to Pro link. That's what the transition was.
Oh, I see. Well, here's the Path to Pro link. That was been much easier.
That's the teams that made it.
Yeah.
That's why I did the transition, because that's why I sent the 2 links.
We're there now.
Thank you.
We're here with you.
Right. Okay. Let's go for the teams one by one.
Yeah, let's.
do that. Right. New York Excelsior Academy, good team.
Yep.
Signed Aramori recently. A couple other players. Not
Big
very
fan of
well.
Aramori.
Yeah, everyone is. What's the story of Aramori? Wouldn't you like to know? That doesn't make any sense to anyone that's not.
No, I got it. I just wish that I hadn't.
Oh. There's a show called Ballamori, a kids show, right, in the
Yeah.
UK, and I thought I'd make a funny joke.
The best jokes are the ones you've got to explain.
Of course.
I just forgot that we speak to American people. Rift Guardians made it. surprise there. Strix Bad Blood, very talented roster there.
Yeah.
Vancouver Titans Blue, yippee! 721 Black and Bad Boys. All of these are pretty good teams, to be honest. I think top 8 is going to be massive this weekend. I've been managing the Team Yippee team with players like Sunshine Brad.
We're finally allowed to reveal that, are we?
Yeah.
Oh, exclusive from Map 5.
It's not like it's been a big secret. 'Cause I typed in Sunshine stream chat once and she started screaming. So there you go. It wasn't a secret for long, really. It's funny because the logo stands out in that graphic, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Another entry in the long-running, let's just use whatever for our display picture of Tier 2 teams.
I've got a couple of teams I want
put it in the MS Paint logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like we had a really good performance. We beat Kunioichi and Blank Space as 2 of our 4 wins. And we were 1 and 2 after day 1. We were 1 and 2, and then went 3-0, no maps dropped on day 2, qualifying.
Well done.
And that felt really, really good. And I was actually really worried about that last game because we were playing against Blank, so really, really good team, right? And I was just kind of thinking back. I was like, shit, all my teams are bottle jobs.
Or your team?
Incendia Evolution against WGS, when we played against Talon and we were 2-0 up and we full held on Route 66 and got reverse swept by Top Dragon. He betrayed us there, to be honest. And you just Team Ireland as well. We definitely could have performed a lot better on Team Ireland. So we're doing this bottle jobs. Well, my teams are, and this time we didn't bottle it, which felt good.
Congrats on breaking your curse.
Yeah, and then the other 2 teams I want to point out in particular are 721. I know I've been talking to Mentally Boomed a lot, and they were looking for that top 8 goal for a while, right? Also got a very talented support line in Santix. She's like an AM nutcase on Jericho. And Zepturn, who's a very, very flexible support player who can play both main support and flex support. Did really well in the Overwatch World Cup, the trials tournaments they did back in February for Sweden. They got 3-2 by Lolsish's team, so they did really well there. So 71 Black, congratulations. Glad to see you in the next tournament. And then Bad Boys, we played them as well, and they were really difficult to deal with. They had a really good Dio player called Interflux, who was really good and difficult to deal with. So shout out to them as well.
Oh, yeah. So that was the offline portion, not broadcast. And I believe... was Calling My Heroes broadcast this weekend? And I was just too busy to...
No, it wasn't, because the World Cup was happening. So this weekend, the top 8 will be streamed.
Yeah.
And there's also... Right, this doesn't get too much marketing, and there's only 4 teams that signed up for the Rising series, which is Diamond and below teams. But you are going to see, I believe, the grand finals of the Rising series.
Oh, great. That's wonderful.
So I think we'll see some Rising series this weekend. And if you are of marginalized gender and want to compete and you're not quite the rank and you want to grow and have the space to grow, sign up for that Rising series.
Yeah. And if you are in that position but don't know where to look for other people to play with, we probably know enough people that we can help steer you in the right direction, so just reach out to any of us, and we're ecstatic to help. So bear that in mind.
So important.
Yeah. All right, one last news item, and I don't have my hands free, so I couldn't pop the air quotes that it might need around this one, because there's a weird thing here on Liquipedia for the 2023 Fall Series, which is, look at this, Fall Series, Thailand. Nobody confirmed for it at the minute, and it looks to me like it's going to fit slightly like the WDG tournaments that were the effectively Korean Open for Contenders, just for Thailand. And now there's been nothing official about this. There are basically 0 details. We just all we have.
There's dates and a venue listed.
Yes, that was the one thing. Is like it's not quite coming up on screen here, but if you look on sort of like the panel on the Thailand entry, it's AIS Esports Studio. It's due to kick off end of this month, July 24th. 8 teams competing. So we're going to be keeping a real close eye on that and trying to figure out what exactly this is, because always cool to get other regions involved.
I feel like Thailand makes sense, although I feel like Japan also would have made sense if they wanted to do 2 Asia Pacifics, right? I feel like both those countries make a lot of sense. Both these countries qualified in pretty difficult circumstances for the Overwatch World Cup land stage. So, I mean, I'm surprised it's not Japan, but it's Thailand if they do go for it. And I do think Asia Pacific having 2 regions is smart, especially with there being no China.
Yeah.
I think it's smart. I feel like this also only makes sense if we get South America back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it does show movement, right?
It
Like,
shows movement. We've got Asia Pacific, and if we do get Thailand separately, that's 2 new contenders regions in a year.
Yeah.
Now, does this take away from competition for APAC?
I mean,
Like,
we've seen APAC competition grow this season, so I don't think so. I think it's just going to grow and grow.
But
I can see it.
Right? Like that's my only concern is don't want to spread things too thin, right? Where things
Yeah.
need to stay competitive for it to maintain its weight, for it to carry its gravity. It's got to be competitive games. But on the other side of that, it is good movement. Like, and it shows that they are looking to expand. And so certainly with the outcry, like South America has to be next, right? Like I'm surprised they did this before they brought back Contenders SA. Maybe they had things in place like that we don't know about behind the scenes. Why it's in Thailand as opposed to someplace like Japan. Could be something as simple as they have a studio there. They've got something set up where the infrastructure's already in place. So that could be a reason as well as to why we're not seeing South America yet. Maybe they're still working on that. But, it's encouraging.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Definitely encouraging. Although, if you didn't know about this, and this is a separate Pacific region, and you're looking at in the South American region right now, you see this and you are probably furious.
Yeah.
I mean, this happened before. I mean, this was set up before the World Cup, obviously.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were going to get from the Central and South American teams. We didn't know. And it was a breath of fresh air that I believe that everybody that has watched the World Cup, that is in the Tier 2 scene, is completely ecstatic for him. We saw big lights coming out and really supporting when Brazil said, bring back, Team Brazil tweeted out on their Twitter, bring back South Contenders SA.
Yeah.
Looking at going back, kind of circling back to the Thailand. I mean, they've got their I guess their qualifier tournament coming up. It starts Friday, and it's 128 teams. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. This will be something that I'll be looking at coming forward for next podcast episode. But man, like, South America needs to be back on the map in the biggest way possible.
Yeah, we can maybe lean into this a little more towards the end of the next section as we run into like the rundown of what exactly happened in World Cup this weekend just gone. And so let's start things off here. Oh dear! Someone get Billy a glass of water. Let's have a. It's too late. I've transitioned. Now what? Now what, Jeff?
I steal it back. No, Zion had a really cool idea of incorporating South America into the existing contenders.
Yeah.
To where you have a separate pipeline that maybe even feeds into it. I just thought that was a really cool idea worth mentioning before we got off that topic, because there are creative approaches to this where it doesn't have to look like a completely separate entity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right, let's try this again. Let's actually have a look and see what happened over the weekend. I'll be starting off with EMEC Group A. And to be perfectly frank, there is only one thing that you need to take away from this weekend's games in Group A, and that is United Kingdom, best team in the region. Only dropped 3 maps over the entire thing. Spain dropped 7. France dropped an embarrassing 5 maps over the course of their matches. So yeah.
Shameful.
Shameful. Disband. No, a really interesting week of games. I think some of these teams I don't think performed anywhere near as well as they were expecting to. And Netherlands in particular is the one that stands out to me. Like, we did this a little bit last week of like the Netherlands roster is actually kind of wild. Like, there's a lot of really good stuff in the Netherlands roster. You know, Tapdan, Krandop, A&J, A10, Pasta, like really solid players.
Denmark to do better. I expected Denmark to be the best team in this region.
Yeah, that was my next on this list. Denmark, again, so they came in through the wildcard group. But if you look at who's on their team,
ridiculous in of itself.
Yeah, like
Denmark should have never been in wildcard.
Yeah, shouldn't
have been in wildcard. Ireland would have been in.
Yeah. But yeah, Shockwave, Naga, Shax, Doge, Molthig, Kellex, Slay. I think it's only Doge and Slay from that lineup that haven't been in Overwatch League at some point in their history. Obviously, Shockwave still there now. Sorry?
Doge was out last season. Doge was on Outlaws last season.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a complete idiot. Yeah, I just got so used
Doge was on Outlaws.
to seeing Danteh play that I kind of forgot Doge was on Outlaws.
But Slay has been on top EU teams
Oh, yeah,
for a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
of years now. Like the number one EU team a couple of years going has had Slay on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just look at that.
Yeah, XO, Nobles, Shoes Money Crew, the old XO
Yes.
logo.
Yeah. There's EXO at their peak, and then to Twisted Minds as well.
Yeah. But I think like the bigger point here, the big upset here, whilst it doesn't really matter that much outside of seeding, is this one here. Spain qualify above France, so they finish with a very similar scoreline. Spain finished with a worse map differential, but because they won the head-to-head, France come in third. They dropped 2 places, coming in undefeated to the start of week 2. So big congrats here to Spain.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's massive. I mean, Netherlands beating Denmark 2-0 and quite handily.
Yeah.
Kind of took the fire out of that last match for Spain.
Yeah.
But I mean, you saw Ness in his interview, friend of the podcast, in our server. The emotion. I think that's what seeing the raw emotion, I think, is what has really invigorated so much of this run here. And I mean, Spain really did a bunch way up. And,
yeah, they did.
Well, they got it done, and I'm so effing proud of them. I'm proud of all the teams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that takes us quite nicely, Billy, into EMEC B.
That's me.
Oh, my
hello.
apologies. I can't read my own run of show. What a day we're having. What a show. How well put together this all is.
Par for the course for little Map 5.
Par for the course.
So let's start with let's go from the bottom to the top, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Right, Iceland. I was a little bit disappointed with Iceland.
Yeah.
I think one win is definitely like they played better than getting one win. I feel like they were better than Poland over the course of the tournament, and I feel like they were around Turkey and Germany's level in terms of quality. Just didn't get the results on the board. Great committee there at Iceland, and always Iceland's always been a big Overwatch country. So
Yeah.
a little bit surprised to see them low. But of course they were thrown in last second. I mean, they were thrown in the wild cards last second. And actually, I mean, something to point out is a lot of the countries that went through wild cards underperformed. Portugal, Denmark. I mean, Portugal, they weren't expected to do well, but maybe they would have got a map win if they didn't have to go through wild cards. And the same for Iceland. I mean, Finland, of course, qualified as the only outlier there. But I definitely think going through wild cards made almost getting through groups impossible. Because you had this mental challenge of playing these 2 games in a row, and then all of a sudden you have to prepare for all these extra teams. I think the wild card format was difficult.
It needs some rework.
Yeah, even more so than Denmark not getting an invite, Finland not getting an invite is crazy to me. Yeah. Finland getting an invite, like I'm not trying to throw shade on any of these other countries here because you've all earned your places, but like Poland getting invited over Finland is very strange to me. Turkey getting invited over Finland is very strange to me. Just like from the history of what we've seen in Overwatch World Cup, clearly there's some metric somewhere that goes into making these decisions, but the fact that Finland came in second in that group says they should just have never been in wildcard.
And then going on Poland. I feel like the thing for Poland, I think, was individuals. I like the way that Fake Jake played. I mean, Fake Jake's been a tier 3 like mainstay for a while. I think they played well, to be fair. Give it a good go. Forever played well as well. So 2 individuals had good tournaments. I don't think anyone else really stood out, to be honest. But I think those 2 had pretty good campaigns.
I honestly think that there was internal rot on the Team Poland team.
We saw some stuff on Twitter that I don't really want to talk about.
Well, I mean, it has to be put out there, though. It has to be put out there because it did affect them.
Yeah.
I think that the internal strife affected them. I think if they just would have buckled down and gotten the job done, I think they would have gone a lot farther.
It's a couple of rogue individuals who had some very not good opinions. Simple as we had the same on Ireland. So
facts.
Turkey, formed, to be honest. 5th place or 6th place. I think they look competitive in a lot of other matches as well. I think they had a really good campaign, Turkey, actually. Well, like I'd say Iceland maybe underperformed a bit, but they still played well. I think Turkey in particular, I think they look pretty competitive. So well done to them. If only Lethal could show that form for Qualifier right now.
Oh,
It's
if
a
only.
genuine thought process right now. I really think that Lethal had a good tournament. Moving up the list, Germany. I think Germany did performed exactly as expected, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they were missing some key players. Yeah, no, I think Germany performed exactly how everyone expected them to. They maybe won a game they weren't expecting to win, and lost a game that they weren't expecting, to lose. Like, yeah, that was a bit of a standout. And then also the top 4 teams in this group. I mean, Sweden 4th had a really bad week 1.
They really did.
I think they really made a big mistake not integrating Melon into the starting lineup in week 1. I think they saw great success with some Melon in week 2, and more Theomatic as well in week 2. I think that helped them a lot. I think they got it wrong in week 1. I think they suffered the consequences of that. I think Norway, shocked not to see them go through, to be honest. I'm shocked that Finland got through over Norway, but came down to, I think Finland beat Norway, actually, didn't they?
They did, and if you look at those top 2 teams, the only maps they dropped to were each other. Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't shock me that Finland got through. I think their committee, from just interacting in the Overwatch World Cup server, I think they've been the best performing committee. I would 100% say that.
I don't know. I think Team India kind of killed it.
Yeah, they did.
Content-wise, sure. But Finland, I mean, in the Overwatch World Cup server, have been fighting for other countries in ways that they don't need to, fighting for their own country and certain things that have gone on over the past couple of weeks. They hold themselves in a very good regard. They market their players really well. There's been some really good content from Finland that just hasn't been on Twitter that we might have missed. It's been brilliant, Finland. And of course, the result after going through wildcards, all the other wildcard teams underperformed. Finland didn't. So congratulations to them. I think their committee is brilliant. I thought their team had a lot of identity. I think it's difficult not to have identity when you've got Vastola and Cloudy as your tanks, because you kind of switch those two and you're playing against a different team, right? And those players have so much individuality on themselves, So, yeah, I feel like Finland did really, really well, and they had some difficult challenges thrown their way.
Yeah.
So last week, I think Vestal is my favorite EU tank.
Saudi Arabia made it through. It's something to address. I think Saudi Arabia-wise is I thought the behaviour of their fans was a little bit better this week. So credit to the committee and players there. I would still, in my personal opinion, I'm a little bit disappointed in the lack of action taken towards 2 individuals who made atrocious jokes during the match against Poland. And I would feel wrong not speaking out about that.
Sorry, are we talking about comments aimed at casters? Because there were repercussions on that.
No. We're talking about comments made about war that are not.
Right, yeah. Yeah. It's difficult to expect a committee to take responsibility for everything that a fan of their country does. But there is certainly stuff you can do to discourage that and provide a better example.
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like their committee took action with their community this week. It was a lot better. I'm still disappointed about the players last week that didn't get punished, though. And that's my only thing. I think Saudi Arabia, they played well and deserved to go through on play. But I'm a little bit disappointed with their actions over the past couple of weeks.
Well, it seems like a reasonable note to end the European Middle Eastern Conference news on it. And what do you know? We're handing the reins straight back to Ethan to talk about Asia Pacific A.
Oh, hello. I forgot that we did this 2 in a row. Give me one moment. We're good. Right. Okay, it's fairly boring this week.
It was a little bit flat.
To be honest.
It was pretty straightforward.
It was pretty straightforward. Korea and Japan beat the teams they needed to beat. The Korea-Japan game was disappointing as well. I expected Japan to get a bit closer to them.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah. I did. And I have to actually, on Korea, disappointed with them this week. I actually thought in some of their other games they took the piss a bit, and I didn't like it. I thought it was very unprofessional, and that's not a good sign for Korea either. I mean, USA did the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, South Korea are lucky that they're not as they didn't lose a map, so it doesn't look as bad. But they definitely did some trolling.
There was some show off rolling happening there.
Yeah, so it doesn't look good for them. And to be honest, if you were a country like a UK right now, you're probably gritting your teeth. You're probably looking at that and going, USA, Korea, I'm not going to buy a bit. That might be an opening for me.
Yeah.
You're probably looking at
They're not going
Finland.
to do that at LAN.
No.
No,
They are
but-
only doing this where they know that it's not going to affect them.
No, but the fact that you don't that respect is a key aspect of any team. If you are not respecting your opponents, you're not respecting your teammates, etc. I think that if that drizzles it all went to LAN in terms of respect.
Now, with the Western teams doing it, I agree. And I was standing on the other side of the fence last episode saying you can't call out the Americans and not call out South Korea for the same behavior. But the caveat I will add to that this week is there is a little bit of a different approach. I mean, sure, it's probably still a little BMing, but there is also an approach of if you're not strong enough to see our best, we're not going to show you our best. And it's...
No, I still think you treat your opponents with respect. I don't think it matters. I think it's a straight up thing. I don't think it's very good, and I think they disappointed me. Simple as. And I think if you're a UK or a Finland, you're looking at these teams and going, if they mess about or if any of this lack of respect comes into LAN, you're probably gritting your teeth thinking there might be an opportunity for an upset here.
Yeah.
If you're saying South Korea, have any sort of that lack of respect towards their opponents and representing their country, that could definitely spark an upset later on.
I think it being a lack of respect is a perspective. I mean, unless they are coming out and saying we are disrespecting
I mean, you
them.
may as well. And playing on off-roles in a tournament against the country is disrespecting them.
I think it's a matter of perspective.
I disagree completely, unfortunately. And let's get to the main story of this group, eh? Hong Kong versus Taiwan.
Fight. Sorry, go on.
Hong Kong versus Taiwan was the big game on the final day. Hong Kong taking that 2-0. Taiwan had a bit of a bad day, to be fair. I think they would have been close if they had a good day. But Hong Kong is securing that final spot.
Rec gets to go through. That's
Yes.
for us.
Yeah.
Rec.
Very happy to see Rec given an opportunity here.
Yeah, I like the DPS line as well. I think it's a good team. And Crazy's a good player too. So.
I think if you are not aware of like Japanese esports, it's maybe a little bit of a surprise to see Japan come in with the number 2 seed here. The only maps they lost were to South Korea, who did have to play their actual roles against Japan. So yeah, I could see that as being surprising. I think there is a big, quite untapped market out there for Overwatch and Overwatch esports.
Monstrous.
So
I've talked about it how many times?
I know.
Numbers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like.
It's worth reiterating here because this really proves it. Like this is definitely pudding for that proof. Yeah. And if your only experience of Japanese Overwatch has been Taio, then yeah, this might come as a shock. But so they have a lot of really good Overwatch players in Japan.
Oh yeah, no, even a player they're not on the roster that really shocked me. I know they went all viral. A player called Daisy, a DPS player who's really good in Japan. Really shocked they didn't get picked. So I think there's also depth in Japan that we don't quite know yet.
And support, most importantly. Like viewer support.
I mean, and fan engagement. The fan engagement in Japan is bigger. I remember it was double of T1 for USG last year. Double of T1, which is a massive org. And before any of the NA teams get on the board, none of you were in the top 5, mate. So let's simmer down there. Japan is a big support out there. And I mean, in other FPS games as well. With Valorant, they've got a Zeta division, very well supported team. So I think the Japanese market's on the rise in Overwatch.
Yep.
Yeah, keep your eyes on it. Well, that moves us on to Jeff next to take us through Group B.
Going through APAC B and kind of concluding this region. I mean, starting from the top, Australia cemented their dominance. We opened with Australia taking on India. Oh, excuse me, that was on day 2. We had Australia taking on India. We opened with a good one between Thailand and New Zealand. This was kind of the start of Thailand's rise. And this is where Thailand went on an upstreak here through our second weekend. And unfortunately for India, they kind of fell off a little bit. And I think it had to do with this match against Australia. And then it culminated into India taking on Thailand for that final spot. and Thailand came out and it really took it to them. And it was, I mean, they took a note out of Australia's book. They saw Nando run the Farah, and Thailand came out and ran the Farah for the first time in the tournament. And India still really didn't have much of an answer for it. India looked a little. They didn't have that same explosiveness. Pummy didn't have that same explosive. Was still really good as an individual and the team as a whole, but just didn't have that extra something, that secret sauce that we saw in week 1. They looked hesitant and indecisive, which was not what we saw at all in week 1. And you can understand that against Australia. I mean, you're going up against a notably, a very tough opponent. You know it was going to be your toughest opponent. So I can understand some caution there, but I think it turned into indecision, and I'm afraid that leaked over into their game against Thailand as well. So that was certainly the big story. And if there was any match I would go back and watch, it would be that final game. With I mean, it's still a really good match. It is a 2-0, but Nepal goes all the way, and it's a darn good match. But let's see. Going back down to the bottom. Singapore did have Vital rejoin them, which was a huge boost. That was their best player from week 1. Unfortunately, it didn't quite pan out. I think it was just a little too late. Malaysia, their tank problems kind of continued to plague them a little bit. Fantasy was just a little. It was like Junker Queen or Winston was like your only option, and so I think it just really limited what they had to work with. Pro Game Dude was he had some crazy moments.
Game Pro Dude. Yeah.
Game Pro Dude. Yeah, sorry, your screen's a little washed out in my preview. I
can't read apologies.
In the preview. I'm going off pure memory. No, it's I don't, whatever. Like he had a 3K in a 1v5 against New Zealand. Literally a 1v5. And he comes away with a 3K against New Zealand. So, like, there's moments of brilliance here from the players of this squad. Just didn't quite come together for him here in World Cup. New Zealand performed about like we expected. They had some good moments, but just it was going to take a miracle for them to get to the top. The story was those top 3 teams in Team India. I know they're disappointed.
Yeah.
I was saying that they probably had the best like committee presence. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I'm not in like the World Cup servers and stuff like Ocean is. But as far as on social media and what they brought to the table and bringing the whole team together, flying everybody out to Vancouver, they certainly had a wonderful presence. But then this team, Thailand, holy cow. This had to be the most wholesome thing I saw over the entire 2 weeks. Billy, you were talking about seeing the emotion of the players. It was apparent every time they talked to Aputo. Aputo had wonderful English, by the way. Thank you to Aputo, because they were able to interview Aputo every time they won, and it was wholesome and brilliant every one of them. But comes in, is wearing sunglasses, and is like the whole team is crying but me, because everybody's so happy. And they're like, no, so why are you wearing sunglasses? He's like, no reason. There's no relation.
No reason at all.
I'm not crying. No. No. And it was just, I mean, look at that face. Look at that smile. Like, you can't, this team fought so hard and did their country so proud. This picture to me just epitomizes what World Cup is all about. And as heartbroken as I was for Team India, because I feel like we were close to that team, and a lot of the people who were part of it, I was elated to see Team Thailand do so well, and it was pure joy, and it was so genuine. And they kicked ass. Like, they straight kicked ass. They were talking early on that their communication might be an issue coming into this week. They cinched all that up. They were tight. The minute. I couldn't be more proud. I'm really anxious to see this team at LAN. I think they're a very charismatic squad.
Yeah.
I think Thailand are going to make fans at LAN just when people get to see them and see their faces and see their emotion. I don't know if they're probably going to go super far, but man, I love this team, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them.
You've always got those filler teams in any World Cup, whether it be this or anything or any other sport.
Any kind of international competition.
You've got filler teams, and I think that this is going to be like the feel good team going through it. Also, the yassification of Aputo, by the way, very yes. Yes.
I was going to say, I had an identity crisis watching that game because I didn't know who to support. Right, a bunch of Thai players, ex-Incendia players, obviously, right. Then Pami, Prash, all involved with India. I was like, I think I was crying and doing weird stuff in that game. I don't know what to do. I was like confused, to be honest.
Oh, poor Prash. Like, that was.
Yeah.
He had 3 Ajaxes in the game against against Australia. 3 in 2 maps. Like 2 of them were by Nanda. Like poor guy just could not play the game. They were hunting him so bad. It was
Yeah.
My heart broke. My heart broke. But it was good. It was good competition. Damn it! It was good competition.
It's been really good. Like every region there's been no sleeper region. They've all been like, regardless of the whatever you think the relative strength of the different regions are, it's all been super fun to watch.
Yep.
Which does take us quite nicely into the last 2 groups of the tournament.
Okay, so I have made no bones about how much I love getting to know the players.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been known as somebody that I don't like anybody to lose. I want everybody to win. I don't think that has ever been more prevalent than during this Overwatch World Cup. I was feeling all the emotions with them, and we'll start off here in Group A. Group A was the group of death, so to speak. I mean, you got United States, Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, and Guatemala. And to allay it and to kind of dispel a lot of shit that I've seen on Twitter, it is Brazil. That's how you say it in Portuguese. It is Puerto Rico. It is Argentina. We were showing respect to the countries by pronouncing it in their native tongue as best we could.
I was going to say very much as best we could. Some of us could not manage it.
I mean, some of us could not, and I think Dogman was doing it on purpose at certain points. But we'll leave that one aside. But still, honestly, everybody expected the United States and Canada to go through easily. United States beat the crap out of our neighbors to the north, and had a really fun time. That actually opened up the entirety of the Americas region, was that USA-Canada match, and it really set the tone for what was going to come forward. The dynamic trio fighting for the 3rd spot, or the dynamic duo, I'm sorry, fighting for the 3rd spot in Mexico and Puerto Rico. I mean, look, it all came down to the last match of the entirety of all the online qualifiers during the entire OWWC qualifiers. And man, did they put it through. That match had me on the edge of my seat. Phil and I were blessed enough to cast that. And I tell you what, it did not disappoint.
Killed it, by the way. Y'all killed that cast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I tell you what, United States, I have my own personal opinions upon what they said, and we will see. Well, I'll talk about that a little bit later, because they went on to J3, they went on to some other streamers, and you say that they don't respect, or that they just that they feel like they're a bit above. There was some borderline disrespect being shown after they were off the official interviews and stuff like that. So I have some issue with how they approached this, but they got the expected result, right? And we expected them to go through first. I want to talk about Costa Rica and Guatemala. Guatemala, 4 of their, I'm sorry, that's Costa Rica. Guatemala, they showed up, but I think that they were learning on the fly. I don't know how much international friendly experience they got before they came into the group stage. That's a team that, I hope that they don't take, I really love getting to learn about the players. I hope that they really do move forward and grow more. Costa Rica, we might be seeing them in the collegiate contender scene, or maybe in NACE or NYXL with Briarcliff University. For the players, not Baru, are having tryouts to make that team. So we'll see how they move forward. But I think if there's any other story, the Mexico, I mean, they've got NA contenders talent right now. Angel Velado is a star.
Yeah.
And deserves to be on a team. Paulette, who I got a chance to talk to when I went on the J3 stream, was completely overwhelmed, and was really talking about the Calling All Heroes experience there on J stream too. Apart from the question I had Jamerson ask them, is just so grateful. And I think that's a big thing that I heard from not only this group, from like the not the USA and Canadian players, but from everybody else, was they were so grateful for the experience. and I mean, we are all friends with Airborne. Gizgab is in the server. I got invited to the Puerto Rico official server. I also got invited just recently to the UPRM, the Puerto Rico Mayagüez server. They like me. I don't know why, but they like me.
It's a mystery to all of us, Billy.
It's a mystery, but I mean, just their love and their scene was something to be experienced and to be truly treasured. And Puerto Rico 2.0 should be a thing. I think Zulix needs to be in contenders. In the contenders question or conversation as well. What an honor from Zulix. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Once the console tournaments back in there. I can't remember exactly which one. I commentated the grand final of Zulix, and I can't remember which one it was.
Never mind. Never mind.
Okay, we'll move on. So Mexico does get the third spot. And Puerto Rico is unfortunately unlucky losers, just on the outside looking in. But I think Group A provided us some wonderful competition and a good look into the NA Central America scene. Now we'll go to Group B, which is South America. And I think this is where we had a lot of the biggest stories.
Yeah.
Ecuador, a fantastic team. Their committee was absolutely gorgeous. I loved interacting with them. Argentina. Gatsby, my beloved Orisa player, was a DPS player and got thrown into the tank role because of stuff that happened before. But I mean, we're also talking about Walter. His interview with the language barrier still exuded all that love and that passion that we wanted to see. And the fact that they get a win on the group stages is huge for them. Colombia beats Brazil on the last day.
That was huge.
Yeah.
I did not have that one on my card. I had Brazil winning the group out based upon what we saw, and Colombia just decimated them. Completely picked them apart.
I didn't have it on my card, but I did have it as I don't think I know enough to say which of these two teams is going to win. Because I think it was up until that point, it looked very close.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Brazil, just because of the coordination and the team play, I thought that Dalka was a standout tank, but Super Gomez shut me up in their final match.
I have a funny image of Super Gomez.
Oh,
that's right, because you guys scrimmed them, right?
I feel bad. The Super Gomez images that we have are so funny because he kind of got memed on that scrim because he got rocked out of the sky in like the second map from really far range, and the poor guy, he looked so tilted. Oh, it was so upsetting. No. So Super Gomez was good crack in those scrims. Good player.
So I mean, Colombia obviously has EQO, and EQO really did have a fantastic tournament. The Sombra was absolutely disgusting. But I think Phil, I think you'll agree with me that Chile and Peru, they were really the stories of this group.
Yeah, so like if you look at the way the scoreline broke down, this is Group B, so it is only 2 teams make it out of this. But in terms of like potential and possibility over the 2-week period, well, there was a period of time where we were kind of looking at Chile as like, well, you know, if they can pull off an upset over Colombia or Brazil, then there's actually a pretty strong chance they make it out of groups. And you know, regardless of what the final performance was, and 3-2 is still pretty good for the group. Very, very entertaining teams to watch. Like I might be a little biased, but like that last day across both groups is really going back and rewatching if you didn't get a chance to.
Oh no, that group's games were so good.
I mean, even when it was an expected result, there was no off-rolling.
No.
There was complete respect for all teams and all people considered. And you know, I went back and I watched a couple of our broadcasts after the fact, just trying to see if I missed something or if there's something else I could highlight. The fan support, holy cow! You talk about Japanese fan support, SA fan support is right up there. Brazil, especially. But I mean, even like, I mean, going back and trying to, translate what they're saying while it's going through. Good Lord. Like the fan support is there at SA. And this brings me back to the whole bring back Contenders SA. The players are there. The support is there. The fan support, the fan base is there. And I mean, even from a country like Ecuador is not that big of a city or big of a country. I'm sorry. And the fact that they put that kind of performance out there, oh man. I mean, all these other countries are much larger than Ecuador. Ecuador is by far the smallest amongst these Group B teams. And still, they went out there, they put out a great performance for them. And really did their country proud. And I think that's the big takeaway from Group B is that everybody took this so seriously, and it gave us the most. For me, my best value is Group B. Even though I love Team Puerto Rico, there's no lie that I have a slight bias there, just because I know so many of the people, not only from CGL but Airborne, and then getting a chance to meet Gizgam from NECC, and then parlaying that forward into the Overwatch World Cup. I mean, I've been invested in Puerto Rican Overwatch for quite some time, so we all have our own natural biases. I mean, we can't deny it. And I mean, I Group B was the better group entertainment and story-wise than ending Group A.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment of it there. But that does bring us to the end of our recap, and it's the end of Overwatch World Cup for a while, which is very sad. It's been a real, just to watch the way the community has responded and to watch, big creators making content out of these games, and games that aren't even I kind of expect Flats to make content about what's happening with Team USA, particularly with how involved he was with some of the decisions that were made as to who was playing what. But watching them do analysis on French games and UK games and South American games has been super cool. The scene has needed this back, and it's very healthy for the game and for the competitive scene to have it back.
I got one final. I'm sorry, Jeff. One final thing. I think J3 and Bad Pachimari put in so many hours.
Bad Pachimari watched everything.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
Crazy. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Map 5 Podcast for Under the Week. Oh, hang on. My bad. I'll walk it back.
Watch Calling All Heroes this weekend. Simple as. That's it.
Oh, my days. Yes. Watch Calling All Heroes. I almost forgot the most important follow-on from that. Obviously, we couldn't see any of the group stages, but the actual tournament part of this should be pretty great watching. So tune in. I think that's going to be on every Overwatch channel this weekend as well.
Yeah. And then we have Overwatch League stuff like the. We've got stuff starting up tonight. Don't we have some open qual starting tonight? That'll include some T2 teams. So kind of it's Path to Pro related. We got some T2 teams competing against AL teams, so it's worth noting. I know I'll be watching it. Well, once I get home from work.
Yeah.
So there you go. And I mean we've got some good tweet of the week candidates this week.
We do. We had 4 or 5 suggested. I picked one.
Pick one.
I have so obviously our friends over in Spain very happy about qualifying, and this is from Agapito 59. It's super loud, actually, now that I think about it. Power of friendship wins out.
Oh,
there were some good ones too.
Yeah.
It was. I don't envy Phil having to choose, but man, what a good choice!
Well, I'm gonna bring us out on this. Thank you everybody for watching. Thanks as always to Glitch for letting us use their music over the intro for this, and we'll be back soon with even more from the world of Tier 2 Overwatch and beyond. Good night, everybody.